Let's learn 5 key programming terms. These terms are basic to all programming, regardless of which language you use. Each of them is also covered in our programming note on objects. The first term is user interface. The user interface is simply what you see when you run the program. The user interface consists of several objects. For example, it may contain buttons, pictures, and a box with text. We will see that each object has several properties, and each of those properties has a value. Finally, each object is an instance of a class of objects. Now let's look at a simple program that illustrates each of these terms. Here's the program. Let's see what it does. If the user clicks on this button, a greeting is displayed in this text box. If he or she clicks again, a second greeting is displayed, and so on and so forth. As you can guess, when the user clicks on this button, the computer has been programmed to clear the text box. The user can click on these buttons in any order whenever he or she wants to, and the computer will do whatever it has been programmed to do when that event occurs. Now let's consider our 7 terms. This form contains the user interface. It is what the user sees and interacts with while running the program. The form contains 3 objects. These 2 are instances of the class button. This one is an instance of the class text box. The form itself is a 4th object. It's an instance of the class form. Property and value are 2 other terms that relate to objects. For example, each of the objects in the user interface has a size property with 2 components, width and height. As you can see, the values of the heights of the 2 buttons are equal, but they're considerably less than the value of the height property of the text box. All 3 widths have the same value. Background color is another property. The value of the background color of the text box is white. Do you recall the value of its foreground color property? Text is another property. The value of the text property of the upper button is display a message. What's the value of the text property of the second button? Well, that's all for this example. We've used our simple message display program to illustrate 5 key programming terms. We'll use these terms throughout the class, so be sure to learn them well. Don't just read and listen to them. To learn them, you must use them actively. Like a small child learning to speak, you're learning a new language in this class. You're learning to speak geek. And, like a child, you cannot just listen. You must speak in order to learn. Don't be shy. Start using these terms. You can even practice using them in non-programming situations. For example, start saying things like, "My name is Bob. I'm an object that is an instance of the class person. The value of my height property is 6 feet, and the value of my number of eyes property is 2. Talking that way is a great way to make friends.